Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of Post-Fades and Cheesesteaks. We do apologize for the delay in getting an episode out, which is why you see just myself. Had some scheduling conflicts, so I'm gonna do just a quick recap of week three. I don't know all our normal topics. Tim got me his studs and duds. We'll run through our power rankings, recap some of the games, do our predictions for week four games, and wrap it up from there. So at this point in the week, a lot of things have come out. There's been unfortunate injuries that have James Conner's out for the year, Nick Bosa's out for the year. Some Eagles players are banged up. You got a lot of backup quarterbacks playing because of injuries. So the league is in full swing. And it's tough. I mean, this is I think week four is when you start to see a change in I don't know what I don't know the phrase is changing the tide of the teams that are for real. So, you know, there's some pretenders in September, and then as the season goes on, they get wheedled out. But we went from 10 undefeated teams last week to I believe there's six left. I know the Eagles and the Bucks are undefeated. They play each other. So it's week four, I think, is the turning point. It's when teams start to put the little things together. A lot of starters don't play in preseason anymore. So you're kind of stuck with, those first few games being your preseason games because these players aren't doing, there's not a ton of in-game scenarios that you can really replicate in training camp and in practice that are accurate to game speed in on Sunday, that are accurate to how your opponent's going to, dissect what you're doing on offense and adjust or game plan against your defensive schemes and attack you. Or figure out where they want to punt the ball to avoid your returner, or if they're going to let you return a kickoff or try to keep it away. So there's so many things that are impacted by learning the first month of the season, and then the teams that respond from that is really where you get the separators. So it's going to be interesting. A couple good games coming up this week, but to recap, got to hit on the Eagles, of course. Sweated it out. Looked terrible for the first half. Hoping, hoping, as all Eagles fans I'm sure are, that this game, similar to what Tampa was last year, for the Eagles, is a bit of a wake-up call, right? So we're hoping that this game against the Rams is the Eagles going, okay, what we were doing on offense for the first 10 quarters of the season was not working, right? So what did work was slinging the ball with Jalen Hurts and hitting AJ Brown, letting him go demon time on people, making little boys out of grown men because stiff arming them to the ground, juking them, and then Devontae clutch making a fourth and goal reception for a touchdown. My only concern too, like, was Saquon has still not had a 100-yard game to mine. I don't think he had 100 against KC. So it's I don't know what's wrong with the run game from my, eagle eye, naked eye perspective as a viewer on TV. It looks like the run game plan is very uninspired. It looks very predictable. If I was a defense, I think I'd be able to tell 8 out of 10 times when Philadelphia is running the ball. And they're not creative. Last year we saw pitches, off tackles. We saw, you know, uh, Saquon going straight through the middle of the line, and there were holes. This year there are no holes. I don't know. You know, Obviously Mekhi Becton's not here anymore, but I didn't think his loss would be as significant. Uh, so and obviously Lane got hurt really early in this game with the stinger injury, um, which, if you notice, they kept him out all game, which um, I feel like people who've never had a stinger don't understand how significant of an injury it can be. I had in practice, I had in football, I had gotten a stinger. My whole, my whole arm went numb. Like my whole right side of my arm went numb for like 30 seconds. Kind of went away. Like I still had a little tingling in my finger, but I was like, whatever. This is like, my last year. I think it was my senior year, high school. And I went right back in. We were doing tackling drills. I think it was the ones where you're in like a circle and they call your names out, or they'll like give someone the ball and then call your name out. Whatever, it's relevant. So I got a stinger from a tackling drill because I had probably terrible form, and then the next play or the next time I went in like 5 minutes later, I got another stinger, and that one lasted a little longer. Uh, that one actually hurt my back and my shoulder. Um, so I told the coach, and I think I sat out for maybe 5, 10 minutes, and then I finished practice. The next day, I went to the trainer, and I said, "Yeah, my shoulder's been bothering me all day. Yesterday, I got hit twice, which I think they were stingers because my whole arm went numb." And he was like, "Yeah, no, you should have stopped practicing immediately after the first one." I don't know what it is. I don't know if it um, exposes your nerves to certain things. But I think the stinger is the reason Lane was kept out is because it can have longer lasting injury impact. I think it just makes your body and your nerves vulnerable for a while. Um, and so like if I try to throw a football, let's say if I throw a football like 30 times, I'll start to get soreness in my shoulder. And it's not from, not stretching or anything like that. It's just that I have nerve damage in the shoulder from the stinger. So I'm glad they kept Lane out as a precaution. There's plenty of tough guys that are like, oh, put me back in. It's just a stinger. But depending on where you got, like how it impacted your body when you got hit and suffered the stinger, it can be a lot worse than people think. But yeah, I'm no Lane Johnson, obviously. But for those that aren't familiar with sports injuries like that, like a stinger, um, it's not. It's more serious than people lead on to believe. Um, so that's good on Lane's part. Going by that rant. Um, so yeah, Eagles struggled. It was 26. What was it? It was 19-7. Coming out of half. I don't know what was in the air at the link, but we had what four or five muffed kicks on the kickoff return, and I think we had a muff punt, maybe. I actually no, I think the punts were fine, but I know we had muff kicks, which was insane. It was Mechie and Tank Bigsby, both muff kicks, and so Howie went and signed a kick returner the next day, who also got cut because he muffed kicks. Maybe just for competition's sake, I don't know, but that was a head scratcher. Um, Very frustrating. So because of that, opening kickoff, muffed, terrible field position. I think it was the second play. Jalen gets fucking walloped, fumbles the ball. You know, Rams recover it. A couple of plays later, Kyron Williams goes in for a score. Then you're up. They're up 26 7 at this point. Uh, so Eagles said, "All right, that's enough of this bullshit." And then start driving down the field doing some no huddle stuff, kind of speeding up the play. And then Jalen obviously goes down, gets a touchdown with Dallas Goedert on a great pass. Get the ball back. Defense comes up strong. Um, Go down. Eagles get the ball, score again. AJ Brown went beast mode on this drive, had some clutch catches, and then scored a touchdown. And people were like, "Oh my God, look at that push off." Actually, before I get to that, it's crazy how many Rams fans that I have seen on the internet this week complaining about the refs. Considering that the Eagles were the more penalized team, like what are we doing? Uh and the Devontae Adams push off on Reed Blankenship was way more egregious than AJ Brown's because AJ Brown was like a little touch and then the corner sold the fuck out of it. Reed Blankenship literally was trying to make a play and he got pushed off. Now this is Devontae Adams. I think he still would have caught it regardless, but he got away with one. So all the Rams fans complaining, shut up. The refs cannot help a team come back down 26-7 with the way their offense was playing just because of, rigged calls. And then they're like, "Oh, offsides on the tush push." It that like half a millisecond is not, especially because the ones that they cited was like the tackle. So if the tackle or the tight end is the guy jumping off sides on the other end, and Jalen almost always goes to the left. So that like millisecond that he jumps off sides in the super slow motion replay, do you really think that that's what's preventing the Rams from stopping Jalen Hurts on a tush push? Come on. If the whole line was jumping off and it was a significant time difference, then yeah, I think that would be a problem. And then we would have to, review it. But it now it's like nitpicking and it's annoying. But I get it if you're not an Eagles fan. I could see why you'd be agitated, but it's it's a it's a football play. If every if every team if it was a cheat code, every team would do it and every team would be successful at it. I forget which team it was. There was a team that did it on last Sunday and they failed. So, yeah. It's a dried out discussion. It's I do fear it will get banned after this year because I think the owners are sick of it. So they're gonna cheat the Eagles out of a play they're good at, but it is what it is. Um, I will say I am concerned about before I get back onto the comeback, I am concerned about the pass rush. Nolan Smith is now on the injured reserve for at least 4 weeks, so or 4 to 6 weeks. So that's a concern. Jalex Hunt's been active, but not the numbers aren't there, and I don't see him on the quarterback enough. I get that this is his first full year starting, so like Nolan took about half the year before we started seeing him put it together. So obviously give Jalex his this year to really get a groove. But it's time for Zadarius Smith to step up. I liked what I saw from him against the Chiefs. He was kind of quiet, I felt like, against the Rams, but we'll see. But then back on the Birds, again, continuing the comeback. And then after AJ scored, defense got another stop. And yeah, they drove down the field. Devontae, fourth and goal from like the eight, eight of the seven, too far for your tush push. Was able to drive it in, or excuse me, catch it to the sideline. So at that point, they had, was it a 1 point lead? I think the Eagles had, and they went for two and failed to get it, which sucked because then it would have been the Rams need a field goal, and you gave Matt Stafford like a minute and a half, plenty of time for Matt Stafford. And he did exactly what you'd think Matt Stafford would do. He drove down the field. Puka Nacua, man, he's got strong hands. There were some times where Eagles defenders were all over him and any, I would say 9 out of 10 receivers were gonna drop the balls that were getting thrown his way, and he was catching them, strong catches, holding on to them, getting yards. So he's top 10 receiver, man. He's good. Um, but yeah, they got down, got I think he made it like a 40 some yard field goal. Um, well, actually, before we get to that, the Eagles did block the field goal attempt um, before this attempt. So I don't remember what drive. It was in the fourth quarter at some point. JD and Jalen Carter hands up, made a block, and then Eagles recovered, took it down the field, whatever. Um, Time is about to expire. After this kick, it's game. If they make it, the Rams win. Kick, kick is snapped, and Jordan Davis, man, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter get them big hands up, stretch them arms, and blocked another field goal. JD was credited with two blocked field goals, and then he scooped it up. Jacorian Bennett, actually, I saw he ended up basically plowing the place kick holder, either the holder or the kicker, out of the way, and then it was just the ball and Jordan Davis and open field. And 9 out of 10 times you're supposed to just drop on it because that's the game. But Jordan Davis said, "This is mine," and picked it up and ran. I think they clocked him at almost 19 miles an hour, and he's 300 some pounds. So yeah, that was impressive. But yeah, so thrilling game. I mean, I went from the problem is I know the Eagles too well, so like I'm never gonna leave a game early or turn a game off, no matter unless it's like actually impossible, like the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, impossible. But I've had this feeling like if they can just get one really good drive together and score before the fourth quarter to cut the lead and then get a stop on D, like there's a chance. And they finally did it. Showed some good possessions on offense and they got it to their stars. That was the key. Get it to Devontae, get it to AJ. AJ had over 100 yards. So we'll see what they do against Tampa. But man, it was exciting game. Came back down 19 points. But fly Eagles fly, baby. They're great. Hey, great teams find ways to win. It's not always pretty. It's not always ugly. I mean, they just. I'll be. I think, coming out of Tampa next week, before the season started, I said if we're 2-2, I'm happy. And right now we're 3-0. Could possibly be 4-0. You know, give Kevin Petula maybe a couple more games until we start, asking for his head on the chopping block. But we'll see. We'll see. But Birds, they held on 33-26, excuse me, and win the ball game. After that, we had all right. And so to get to the rest of the games, because I spent way too much time with the Eagles there. Thursday's game of last week, the Bills took care of the Dolphins 31-21. Dolphins still look really rough. That defense is terrible. But they made it a game, and the Bills ended up holding on. So Bills move on to 3-0. Vikings and the Bengals. This was surprising. Carson Wentz started for the Vikings, so we got to see Carson and Justin Jefferson together. The Eagles fans' original dream. Um, and Jake Browning was supposed to be this like, the best backup in the league, and they were terrible. Bengals scored only 10 points. Vikings scored 48. So they destroyed them. Former Eagle Isaiah Rodgers, uh, cornerback, had a pick six and then also had two forced fumbles, one of which he recovered himself and took that to the house. So he had two defensive touchdowns. He ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year, or excuse me, Defensive Player of the Week. Jordan Davis won Special Teams Player of the Week for the NFC. But yeah, Vikings won 40-10. Jaguars continue to win low scoring games. They're now 2-1 after beating the Texans 17-10. They have a sneaky good defense. It's good to see Jacksonville doing well on defense side of the ball again. Man, if Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas can get on the same page, this Brian Thomas is like a shell of what we saw last year. He He's dropping lots of balls. He does not look like himself. Don't know if he's dealing with some kind of mental thing, but it's concerning if you are a Jaguars fan, because they are offensively not putting it together. But um, yeah, but they won. So next we had the Colts beat the Titans 41-20. The Titans might not win a game until the middle of the season or less. They are them and the Saints, like I predicted before the season started, are going to be the worst two teams, and so far they're the worst two teams. So Danny Dimes 3-0 off of Jonathan Taylor, three touchdowns. He's very quietly the best offensive player in the league right now. Like nobody's talking about him, but he's leading the league in rushing and putting up insane numbers. He's he's like offensive player of the year so far, and then Danny Dimes is like MVP. It's a crazy, crazy first 3 weeks. Commanders were Jaden Daniels lists and still throttle the Raiders 41-24. Weird game. Mariota started for the Commanders, and honestly, the Commanders' offense really didn't do a lot. It was just mistakes by the Raiders, that kind of let the Commanders take a big lead. So they ended up winning 41-24. The probably might be a bigger surprise than the Vikings thwarting the Bengals was the beatdown. The Panthers 30-0 on Atlanta. Um, not much to say. It just uh Michael Penix looked terrible. He was throwing, you know, when you give a 10-year-old a controller in Madden and they just start throwing to covered receivers, and they're getting picked off and taken back for touchdowns, that's what you were watching. It was bad. So we'll see how they respond. Because again, kind of like the Commanders game, like the Panthers offense really wasn't doing a lot. It was just the mistakes by the other team. Just goes to show you, look at what the Eagles have been doing, taking care of the football. Besides that one fumble by Jalen after getting, shit rocked, they haven't thrown any picks and they only fumbled once. So you protect the football, it'll take you a long way. And I think actually the Jaguars lead the league in defensive takeaways too. So there's that. Steelers beat the Patriots 21-14. They were up 14 nothing. Looked like they were going to cruise, and then Pats came back, made it a game, and then Aaron Rodgers had a late game-winning drive to put them on top. Another surprise game, the Browns beat the Packers 13-10. Um, the Browns, if they get carried somehow into the wild card, which who knows, it'll be on the backs of their defense. Their defense is, if not number one, a top three, top five defense right now. I think them and the Jaguars are the reason. And the 49ers defense has been pretty good too, even with all their injuries. They're the reasons that they are in games. Like 13-10 victory. On the Packers side of things, Jordan Love didn't look great. He threw some dumb interceptions, but go Browns, man. Go Browns. The Buccaneers won 29-27 over the Jets after some crazy late game action. The Buccaneers were going to kick a field goal. The Jets blocked it, took it all the way down the field for a touchdown to take a 1 point lead, and then the Buccaneers got enough time on the clock. Baker led a game-winning drive, and then they kicked a field goal to close it out. So Chargers beat the Broncos 23-20. Another close game. Chargers, man, they look good. Broncos they're struggling a little bit to produce, I feel like, and their defense has not been as strong as advertised. I think they're going to be a second half team that gets stronger as, once week 6, 7, 8 comes around. But right now they gotta have to weather this storm. They're not looking too great. Seahawks destroyed again, one of the worst teams in the league, the Saints, 44-13. Not gonna say too much on that. The Bears beat the Cowboys 31-14. This looked like it was gonna be a close game for a little bit, and then the Bears really opened it up. I think after that, There was a flea flicker where they handed off to DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift did like an alley-oop. He threw that ball so high up in the air. Caleb Williams was able to get it in time and just chuck it. Like, say what you will about Caleb Williams and if he's going to be a good, a great quarterback or whatever, but he has a cannon. Like, he launched that shit. Perfect throw all the way to the receiver for a touchdown. It was a fun play to watch. So, Bears took care of the Cowboys. Cowboys, all of a sudden, they look good against the Eagles, and now they're not looking too good. Um, Cardinals and 49ers, these two teams are probably the most boring teams to watch besides New Orleans and Tennessee. Um, but the 49ers, without Brock Purdy and now without Nick Bosa, were able to win 16 to 15 over the Cardinals. Giants and Chiefs was a very close, very boring, very ugly game through halftime, and then the Chiefs kind of pulled away, end up winning 22 to 9. And then a fun game on Monday night, Lions and the Ravens. Lions won 38 to 30. I think a lot of people were surprised by that outcome. Ravens are a weird team, man. Their defense, you always think of the Ravens, you think of good defense, but their defense has been costing them. Marlon Humphrey, who I think is a top 10 cornerback, was getting his shit toasted. Giving up big plays. Like they had I think it was a fourth. The Lions went for it on like fourth down, threw a play to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Marlon Humphreys just couldn't take care of it. You kind of want that out of your star players, but um, and Derrick Henry 3 straight games with a fumble. Now I I do think all 3 fumbles are legit, like not his fault per se, because all three, if I remember correctly, were punch outs. So there's players literally coming like fucking swinging at him. So these aren't like your traditional like, oh, he just, was loose with the ball. Like these balls are getting rocked. They got some kind of like whatever that like rock'em sock'em boxing glove knocking the ball out because Derrick Henry's a strong big guy. Like for him to fumble 3 games in a row is surprising. So, but now that I'm out of breath, that was a recap on week 3 of the NFL season. Um, and then quickly, gonna just touch on Tim's studs and duds as he is not here. So I will have to fill in for him. His studs, obviously, Isaiah Rodgers, Jordan Davis, and he also had Caleb Williams as one of his studs, who had a really great performance, like I said. Duds of the week, Michael Penix, obviously, did not do well. Ramondre Stevenson, and then he had Derrick Henry on here as well, I guess, for the fumble, because, I mean, that fumble did change the game. Led to a scoring drive for the Lions, so no matter what, you got hold on the ball. I know Derrick Henry's he's the type of player that's eating him alive, especially that he's done it 3 times now. So very uncharacteristic, but those are your studs and duds. And then looking at our power rankings, so not too much movement for this week. So we got the Bills and Eagles still 1 and 2. Then we have the Chargers moving up till 3. The Bucks move up to 4, or were they there last week? All right, Bucks stay at 4. My apologies. Ravens drop, and the Colts enter the top 5 at number 5 spot. Number 6, we have the Lions moving up from 8 from last week. 7, we have the Packers dropping from 3 to 7. I mean, like I said, the Browns defense is really good, but you can't, if you're a Super Bowl contender, you can't be losing games like that. Um, Number 8, we have the 49ers. I lied, actually. We're switching. We're gonna have 49ers at 7 because they're undefeated. Give them their flowers. Packers at 8, or Packers at 9. Sorry, I can't read. Packers at 9. The Rams at 8, and then the Ravens at 1 and 2. Don't see a lot of the teams with a negative record in a top 10 power ranking, but it's still the Ravens. So last week, I did not do as well as I did the previous week. Um, Finish, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. So I finished 8 and 8. I was going, what did I go before that? 15 and 1 the previous week. Um, and then Tim went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tim went 10 and 6, and Alex did our guest picks, and he went 11 and 5. So guest picks, congratulations, you won. You're the first winner, or Alex, congratulations, you are the first one to win the week for guest picks. Actually, we've had a different winner every week so far. Tim was number one the first week. I obviously did number one the second week, and then we had guest picks winning week number 3. I'm stumbling over my words. Um, so that being said, tight race, but we're all positive, which you can't say is true for a lot of professional analysts who get paid money to give their unfiltered thoughts and guessing game and all that. So stick with us. We got it. Moving on to week 4, we have Flurry, our running back, our top 10 running back guest, who I'm not gonna say Derrick Henry's fallen off, but he might have made some decent points. I mean, he's fumbled 3 straight games. No, I'm just playing. Derrick Henry's fine. It's just a weird funk he's in. But so we got Flurry doing guest picks. And we're gonna rip through these. So Thursday night game is Seahawks and the Cardinals. I'm gonna take Seahawks. Tim is on Seahawks, and Flurry is also on the Seahawks. Sunday, 1 o'clock, September 28th. We are already the last weekend of September. That is bonkers. Okay. Vikings at the Steelers. I will be taking Pittsburgh. Tim is taking Minnesota. Flurry is taking Pittsburgh. Obviously, he is a Steelers fan. So next game, Commanders at the Falcons. We are all on the Commanders because the Falcons look terrible. Saints versus Buffalo. We are all on Buffalo because the Saints look terrible. Browns versus Lions. We are all on the Lions because the Browns are the Browns. Defense, though, I'm not gonna lie. I want to watch this game. I want to see how the Cleveland defense holds up against one of the best offenses in the league. So it should be good. I actually expect a close game, but gotta give it to the Lions. Titans versus the Texans. I'm taking Houston. Tim's taking the Titans to get their first win. He's on some kind of drugs. And then Flurry's taking Houston as well because he's smart. Panthers versus the Patriots. I'll be taking New England. Flurry will be taking New England. And Tim is still riding the cocaine trail because he's taking the Panthers. Also to get, oh no, they have their first win, but still, I'm not buying it. Chargers versus the Giants. Jackson Dart will be starting in place for Russell Wilson after that insane final drive he had where he threw like three straight balls out of the end zone and they were in the goal line or red zone. They were in red zone offense and he threw the ball out of bounds 3 times. He's a fucking vet. I did not understand what he was doing. Anyways, we're on the Chargers. Eagles. Ugh, Eagles travel to Tampa to face the Bucks. 1 p.m. game. My brain was telling me that Tampa was going to win this game last week and the week before that and the offseason when I saw it on the schedule. But I mean, Tampa, Mike Evans isn't playing. He's out for a couple weeks. I don't think Godwin's back yet. I mean, Mbuka looks legit. And Baker's clutch. I'll give him that. But they have injuries, and I think they've snuck out wins as well. But they've done it against some not so good teams, whereas the Eagles snuck out wins against like good teams. So I'm gonna pick the birds. I gotta keep picking the Eagles until they lose, right? Once they lose, then it's like then you can use your brain. But it's all heart for now. So me and Tim are riding the birds. Flurry is a hater, so he's gonna take Tampa Bay. Colts versus the Rams. I love this Daniel Daniel Dimes story. Happy to see him doing well after leaving the Giants, but I got to go with the Rams on. They're gonna rebound for the most part. They played better than the Eagles for 2.5 quarters, and then just fell apart. And you know, I don't want to say got unlucky, but shit happens in the NFL. But great teams find ways to win, and better teams find ways to close out games, and they didn't do that. But I'll take the Rams. Tim's on the Rams, and then Flurry's taking the Colts. Jags versus 49ers, man. I should have picked them last week. I'm typically always kind of pro Jaguars. So I'm gonna get back on it. I'm gonna take the Jags over the Niners. Tim's taking the Niners. Flurry is taking the Jags. And then these next 5 games are gonna be boring because we are all in agreement on who's winning. So Ravens at the Chiefs. The Ravens really need this game. So we are all picking the Ravens to win. Bears versus the Raiders. I really had higher hopes for the Raiders. I thought the defense was going to be a little better. I thought the offense was going to be much better. Gino does not look good. I don't know what kind of voodoo magic was going on in Seattle that made him look like he was some top 15 quarterback, but he is not playing well. Um, so we are all on the Bears. All on the Bears. Packers versus Cowboys, all on the Cheeseheads. This is your Sunday night football game, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, Dallas looks rough. They really could use a pass rusher and a Micah Parsons per chance. But CeeDee Lamb got hurt. He hurt his ankle on the stupid wide receiver run where he was in the backfield. I don't know why they do this shit. He's not Deebo Samuel. So he's out for a couple weeks, which is huge for them. That's really bad. And then Jets versus Dolphins. I guess this is a get right game for Miami because, to be honest, if they lose this game, I would not be. Well, okay, that's a lie. I would definitely be shocked if Mike McDaniels got fired, but I would not be. I would not be like gasp if he got fired this early because the team just isn't there. Like they're just not. They need this win to save any chance of a season. And if they lose this game, they're cooked. The Jets are like kind of rebuilding. The Dolphins are too talented to be this bad. So we're all in the Dolphins. And then Bengals versus the Broncos. We all saw what went on without Joe Burrow. And the Bengals will never win games and never compete for a Super Bowl until they fix that offensive line for good. So yeah, we are all on the Broncos. Broncos, like I said, need to get a couple wins rolling here because they've had a rough start. But that is our week 4 game picks. Kind of ran through it quickly, but that's what we got. So everyone else, good luck with your teams. Hope you get a win. My fantasy teams have been ass, so I hope everyone else is having good luck with their fantasy teams. And as always, fly, Eagles, fly. Peace.